what I've done, uh, in anticipation of the opposite side, I'm gonna kind of make a polyline
Okay.
out of out of this thing right here, which is a carbon copy of that. Now it's one, and I could make the line type the same. Oh, I guess it didn't join.
It's all right.
There we
Um,
go.
actually,
There we go.
yeah, we'll need that to be a little bit different anyway because of that offset in the curve and where the gutter starts.
Oh, okay, sure.
But that's
Oh
all.
yeah, we. I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's
blew
all
that.
right. We'll be able to do that with the we'll just do the follow command and we'll do it in that regard.
Yeah,
Um,
I never learned how to use that follow up thing. But let's.
okay.
Okay,
Well,
here's where we are.
yep.
Um,
Yeah,
you wanna?
let me do the old request remote, and I'm going to
There
just
you go.
talk you through what happened here.
Sure.
Um, first thing you may notice is that the road surface is only 250 feet long, and that's because I just limited the station range to process this for testing, just to keep from having to build the whole road each time. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of a time saver there. We'll make sure we check that. Now, a couple of things here.
Mhm.
The red line we
Mhm.
created by, um, well, you had already drawn out these flares. So I took the center line, I
Mhm.
offset it that, what is it, 10 feet for these white
Yes.
edges. They're not used for anything. They're just there for reference at this point.
Mhm.
That's where it would be going. The center line itself, then um, we created this line
Mhm.
here by drawing a polyline from the
Yes.
intersection right here,
Mhm.
and then we choose
Mhm.
that what was blue underneath it,
Mhm.
and give it that start point, and then we came all the way down here to the end and then the ending point
Mhm.
and came out. Now
Mhm.
I'm going to zoom in right here to show you one of the little quirks that I found
Mhm.
that I had to do. If you
Mhm.
see these blue lines, that line right there that is now
Mhm.
selected, that's the original true. Um, let me see. Let me get
Edge of pavement.
this line right here. Yeah, that's the original true line that this red line had originally followed. Okay, and notice
Mhm.
it deviates a little bit here. Now the reason why I did that, if you
Mhm.
look at this line, or better yet,
Mhm.
let's use that yellow line is what I want.
Mhm.
Select it here. Let's see. Okay, it's selected. So that yellow line there is a
Mhm.
line that is exactly perpendicular to the center line at station 00. And
Okay.
you see it missing this over here a little bit because the right of way is slightly skewed
Yes.
from being perpendicular, and that's okay. But what had happened before when that red line went exactly to this point right here where the tip of that arrow is,
Mhm.
when the road when RoadNet processes, it starts back at 0 and it starts down its path, uh,
Mhm.
you know, along that line and processes out perpendicularly to that. So
Mhm.
from right in here where it started up to about right in here, it had a little bit of road surface of this
Mhm.
original width. Okay.
Mhm. So went a little bit outside of the edge of pavement. Yeah.
Well, it didn't go
Yeah. That's
quite
yeah.
to the right of way up here. This red line didn't start to here. So we had this little bitty stub of a 20-foot wide piece that runs up to where it perpendicularly to that start point, and that's where then the flare started. So you had that little bit of a thing, and it really kind of wonked out the surface in there. So the
Okay.
solution was to I put that yellow line in. made it perpendicular to the center line. And then I just
Mhm.
grabbed that little red line that used to be up here,
Uh huh.
and I just grabbed the grip and brought it down
Yeah.
to that point
So
there.
in real life, they'll this is just for purposes of making a tin. They'll feather that
Yeah.
in. That's
Oh
not a
yeah.
problem.
Yeah. And then, and in fact, once we're done with all that, we could actually even just trim if we needed
Mhm.
to. Although
Mhm.
we're actually generating the top of a curb right in here a little bit.
Mhm.
But like I said, when you stake those things out and build those things, they'll just you obviously need to honor that right of way. But purposes of getting a model now, because that put this line slightly into the right of way here, it's going to be slightly out on this side, assuming that right of way line is straight across there, because the
Right.
end of the road and the right of way are
Mhm.
not exactly parallel. So we have that little bit of offset. So that's just one of those little nuances that happen. Now, the other thing that happened,
Yeah.
um, because you see how this red line is nearly, at least in the beginning parts, it's nearly parallel with the front edge of the apron
Mhm.
before it starts and starts to become more perpendicular to the apron or
Mhm.
parallel to the center line. So what happened? We had a drop station interval of, I don't know, 50 feet or something. So it goes up and
Uh huh.
tries to hit every 50 feet. Well, if it comes over here and samples it, that's where one of these little lines gets made, and
Uh
then
huh.
it goes up 50 feet away and then makes another one. So you wind up getting these straight stretches through here, which
Mhm.
wasn't what we intended to get.
Mhm.
So combat that, I put in a series of and these are about 2/10 of a foot apart. I just gave it a list of stations that I wanted it to process for. So it dropped
Okay.
that template at every 2/10 along that way where it kind of got
Right. Right.
tight, and that smoothed
Okay.
out the surface building in there. Okay, now
Mhm. I see you
get
did
up.
it over there where the gutter starts as well.
Yeah, well, here's what happens here. This line, let's see. Well, that's one of them. This is the one that's a little more. Let me highlight this and this and this. All right. So if you see how those are sort of they jump up here to the corner and then come back.
Yes.
And what happens there is that these two different templates. You've got one without the
Right.
curve or without the gutter, one with the gutter here.
Yeah.
So when this processes,
Mhm.
as it processes, and if it were here, it always processes perpendicular to the center line. Okay.
Right.
And so when it hits this edge, then everything that's defined in the template then is, propagated on outside of that edge. Okay.
Right.
And
Right.
so over here now, when you take that line that in this case is parallel to the center line, everything all
Mhm.
lines up, then what happens when you have a curve path for it to follow? When it hits that curve path, that's where it starts to push things perpendicular to the curve path. It becomes
Mhm.
radial to it. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when we get here, this portion goes radial and that continues up to basically this yellow line.
Mhm.
But then the part
Right.
with the curb and this apron also goes radial. So
Mhm.
that's starting to push things this direction. And that's what gave us
Yeah.
this little bit of a this little peak in here. And when the
Yeah.
resulting surface happened, it
Yeah.
looked like this. And I'll show you.
Well, it definitely followed true to the template.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
that's how that first template was made. It wasn't. There's no template outside of the. Yeah, I see what it did exactly.
so you
Yeah, it
see
made a hole. Yeah, the template transition is a nice command, but it's not smooth. Yeah.
Well, but see, we got a way to fix that. So this little triangular piece, that's where this
Yeah.
one thing tried to resolve itself to this thing, and it went from this being perpendicular here and then this being perpendicular
To
here.
radial. Yeah, in a split second. Yeah, with no transition between them. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, we defined the transition, and that part worked okay. But when it builds the triangles, it tries to, when it gets to say this point,
It goes radially to the other template. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's trying to come back to the center line, but then this one takes over and it's trying to push out to the center of this curve. And so there's
Yes.
that overlap. So anyway, it gave us that bit of a discontinuity. Now, what I did, and
Mhm.
this is what we're going to probably have to do because of those tight little junctures there, is once this was done,
Mhm.
I then brought that into my surface viewer, just like you saw there, and I did some edits to it and came in here.
Mhm.
And as you can see now, that's absolutely
Yes. You
resolved here.
manipulated the triangles out of the tin. Okay.
Exactly. And then I filled in this down here. Remember that little hole that got punched down in here because
Yes.
one was diving down, this other one. So it had that little crunch. So I cleared that area out and then just healed the breach, if you will, by this method. I I drew, I kept this line here,
Uh huh.
which was part of that original surface. And then I did a 3D polyline with this red line. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so that now adds me another piece of 3D geometry. So if I look at that and that,
They
it's
tie
going
together.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to look
I
like,
gotcha. Just filling in the blank there. I see what's exactly happening.
oh, back to right there.
Yeah. You're just connecting the dots.
Right. So I connect the dots and then basically take out this point from the surface. And then
Yeah.
I
And what
add
command
this
did you use
line.
to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So taking out this point here and fixing these other little things around the curb, I did right inside of this viewer, which I'll show you that when we process that
Mhm.
right side. But then this one, that command, you only have a subset of commands in the viewer. So to be able to do this out here, is I went to this surface file. Let's see, you were in survey, looks like. So let's go to Carlson. Or actually, you were in hydro, I guess, or something. All right, anyway. So I go to the surface manager, okay, and then I set up that surface file as my current surface. Now it's going to load the manager, and I chose this and set it
Mhm.
current. Now that's probably not going to work on your end. You'd have to find it. So let's hit the add button, and yours is here. It's not that. You notice that one that said Mac. That's mine. Uh, that, that's surface names already used. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to take these two out. We'll keep any entities. And you see that
There you
reference
go.
right there because this list is just a text file on your system, and you don't have
Yes.
that. I could, let's see if I can edit. Oh no. Okay, yeah. See, it doesn't find it, so I want to set a new location. So maybe that'll help me do it that way.
Yeah. Just we could reset it.
Yeah, so choose it there. So I could have just edited it or, um, edited the list. I could have deleted it and re-edited it, but when you do it this way, it takes care of it for you. All right, so once you're in this editor, notice it draws all these triangles for us, okay? that's just
Mhm.
temporary, but they're there to help guide us. And so from this pull down list, I choose, I choose, I chose um, to add entities. Now you would think you could
Okay.
add a brake line, but when you're on the periphery, you can't add the brake line because there's all the brake line out here. You would choose add entities. It prompts you to select it. I selected that red
Mhm.
3D polyline. I just said you can either say apply if you've got more to do, or just say okay if you're done, and it writes that into that surface. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's the process to go through that, and we'll have to do that. We'll even have to do these edits that I did over again once anytime we reprocess the row, because that's going to go back and recreate that little convoluted uh, thing. I'm trying to get this box to go there. What's it saying? Select an internal edge. There we go. Done. All right. So that's that process, and that's all these yellow lines are here is just showing you those key
Right.
locations where we had some um, issues. This was a target to extend that. So I could even, we'll just move this over here in anticipation of extending this end of it. So if we say here, that's, oh, okay, well, my right click menu in IntelliCAD has the extend command on it. That's no problem. We'll just do the extend. I think this is it. Yeah. Yeah. So there's my boundary. Can't, there's too much lag going on here. If I extend using, see what it's doing. It's working like a, oh, I guess I had to do P for boundary. Choose that. And now I need to find that yellow line without selecting the others. See if I can. All right. Let's see. Find a way to do it here. Simple enough, but I had to get rid of all the other stuff. And now there we go. All right. So there's that line that is exactly perpendicular to the center. And let's take a look right in here. You should see a little bit of a miss. Okay, so is this line not straight? Ah, there's a kink in that right of way line right there. Okay. So that's okay. We could do a couple of things now. When this one, you see how this, when we put that curve line, that what will be that red line to make that alternate
Yes.
pathway, it's
It's gonna
going to,
come all the way to the yellow.
yeah, we'll bring
Okay.
it,
Well, that's not a biggie because
yeah,
that's just a tin, and that
right,
you're not
right,
gonna see in the
right.
final
We'll
drawing.
bring it right to here. So, and
Okay.
okay, so that's going to be our
All
guide. And
right.
otherwise, you would think, well, gosh, why does it do it? But it folds everything all over itself down here with a real mess. Now, so let's do the same process
Sure.
and to make that a little bit easier.
Yeah, I was trying to do that by taking it off to the side and making a polyline out of it, but it, but I picked the wrong edges.
Yeah, but
I picked the wrong edges.
yeah, I wouldn't worry about trying to copy it off to the edges anywhere. We can just do it in here where it's sitting
Okay.
in the follow in. I'll show you how that works. So I'm
Yeah, I
going.
don't know that command. I'm not familiar with it, so we can show me it again.
All right, so
So it's
I'm going to erase by layer and just get rid of my little surface lines here,
sure.
because they'll get recreated. I'm going to get
Right.
some of the stuff
There
out.
we go.
So there's out, and I want to also. So where I'm going to start now, this starts. I'm presuming that is right at. So those two lines do intersect, so that should be fine. So we'll use that
Yeah.
as the
I
starting.
think we could start. I think we could start right at that point.
Okay. So we're
That's a full
going to.
transition point. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to make this line on this right hand side, and we're going to then also turn that into uh, we basically it will become an alignment. If you see this red one here, if I double click it,
Uh huh.
um, you know how
Fine.
you double click processing is not.
Mhm. There you go.
But in any case, it is a center line. It's
Yes.
not. Let's see. This thing bounce around on this side. So if I look at this entrance flare left, see that's that
Mhm.
line, and it was turned into an alignment, and that's what it has to be done. And here's how that works: is when we say template point center line, and we tell it the
Mhm.
template point we're going to be using is this original edge of pavement, that TB
Right.
was. Then when it's walking down this center line, it's looking left and right. And if it encounters this
Mhm.
alternate center line that we've created or multiple center lines, and
Mhm.
it says, aha, I see that's out there. So I'm going to quit using this out of my template. And I'm going to go all the way over there and start using this.
Right. Mhm.
Now, to set the grade of that line, there's two things. And right now, it's not doing it by an alternate profile, but it can. But what it does is it takes that original 2% push out to here, and it just keeps pushing that at
Just keep
2%.
pushing it out at 2%. Yeah.
Right.
Which is fair.
Yeah, but what we might need to do is that we're going to come up here and find where it comes back into this original road, and we're going to
Mhm.
find out what that elevation needs to be. It looks like it's something like 578.24, and we're going to
Sure.
make a little profile of going from
Yeah.
that point, and we could take it all the way up to here if we wanted, and say
Yeah. Yeah.
just linearly change elevations between those 2 points along that path, or we could start at this
Yeah.
elevation and just come up to here, and then at this point we'll pick up that 2% push.
I think we want to do that because just for information, I'm going to have to put a catch basin at the end of that gutter
Uh-huh.
to catch any runoff before it goes into the right of way because that has to go towards my new storm sewer system and get detained and treated and whatnot.
Sure.
So the way you just said the second time,
Uh-huh.
making a separate profile
Yeah.
from the road 57824 up to the gutter where it ends,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the best way to do it and leave the
Well,
other
that's
gutter.
how it has the pushed out 2%.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine the way
Right.
you said.
Right. So what happens is, or the way we'll approach that is when we generate those green model lines and we find out what that elevation needs to be right here,
Yes.
we'll jot that down, and we'll go and we'll look at this edge of pavement out here and figure out what that one needs to be. And then we'll
Mhm.
create a profile between those 2 points because this
Mhm.
2% line would normally push this point probably below that edge. It's, uh, it's,
Yeah.
uh, it's,
Understood.
it's, in fact, this actually raises up from '03 to 24. See?
That's a good point. You don't want it to be below grade. It's got to be flush.
Right. So we're going
Okay.
to start up here. So this will be a little higher and it's going to come, either down or flat or less steeply
Yeah.
down to this point to where
Yeah.
we pick up that 2%. And what it does in the
Yeah.
process is it blends all of these triangles,
Okay.
out, out to
Yeah.
this point. Uh,
Yeah. And
right.
and then behind the curve, it'll transition back down to existing grade.
Oh yeah, yeah, that part
Okay.
catches right
All
there.
right.
So these
So we're just
triangles then
controlling
get,
the front, the face of the
yeah,
curve.
so,
Okay.
so
I got it.
that gets blended. Now, but we do that by, just like we call this entire red line the template point center line. That's a horizontal change of
Yes.
position of this line. Then we would also choose a template point profile and we
Yes.
make the profile. We could do it for the entire length of that, or we could just go from here to here, which is what we'll do. And we'll say
Mhm.
during that region, wherever you see the
Mhm.
station range of that region,
Mhm.
instead of taking this 2% pushed all the way out to here that you would normally be doing, I want you
Yes.
to interrupt that and start matching elevations along there. And then once you get to here,
Mhm.
then you can go back to your 2%. Okay,
So
that's
there's going to be a vertical template transition as well as
yeah,
a horizontal. Yeah.
yes, and that's called
Okay.
that template point profile. And those are on here, assigned template
Okay.
point
I gotcha.
the center line. Okay, so that's our approach. Now, right now we're just looking at the center line so we can get a feel for how this stuff is processing. So let's now do this follow, and I want to uh, let's see what I'm on template center line layer, and I see I'm on it up here as well. So let's uh, go ahead and do that. Um, change this to back to being by layer. If I can get it to stick. There we go. And then we'll make this temporarily a little wider. So we're going to simply draw this center line. Now, when we make that center line, because the road goes from here in this direction, we needed this to go from here in this direction,
Mhm.
but we don't know
We
what
can
the,
always reverse it. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what we have to do. So we're going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to let you drive now and just
All right.
draw a 2D polyline. And I think AutoCAD also has this feature, but the Carlson definitely has the options of following. So you want to, like on your draw menu or however you draw polylines.
Yeah. Well, I have a bunch of nifty. Well, they're not nifty. They're just Carlson tricks that I do. However, what do you want me to? This line I'm about to draw. Do you want it on the same layer template dash CL as across the side, the opposite
Yeah,
side, or new?
yeah. No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
so that's all set up, ready to go. So let's just,
Okay, we're going to use a command here, copy to layer.
yeah, you can do that.
Um, and this, this, and I'm going to have to trim it, but
It's okay.
it's okay.
You can do that on your part. And
And I'm actually for this. Do I'm?
go ahead and
It's
grab
okay that that ends there, or do you want me to catch the?
we
How
don't need
far
that
should I?
line. We don't need that line. We need the one you're working on. Yeah. So, but we can let's just extend that. Um, go ahead and grab that other piece, and then we'll trim it off and join it as well.
Should we grab this
Yeah.
cyan piece right there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna make this. Put this on that layer. Here it is down over here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to trim that. And now I have to join them.
You also need to trim on the other end. I think doesn't that extend? I did it.
Sorry, you're fading away. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I thought that this line down here, I thought that picked up. I thought that went beyond the curve, but I see it didn't. It should be okay. Okay. Yep. All right. Go ahead.
Do you want me to join them, or do you want me to get rid
Yes.
of this segment, or do you
No,
want to
no,
extend
no.
this?
No. I
Okay.
thought that line was like way up toward the center line, and we had to trim it back, but it's not. So
Not a problem.
what we'll do is exactly what you're doing. We're gonna join these.
And we got this over here, and we got this over here. Just make sure that looks pretty good.
Looks like you got it.
So now I have to make this a center line.
Yes.
I believe this is the command, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so this one we could call it entrance flare right. So far I haven't screwed up anything too badly, have I?
You're doing perfect. Okay.
Okay, and then I'm going to select a
Then you select that, and now change your R
hit
to
reverse.
and
Okay.
good.
Zero's fine,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right.
You
Now,
now
nice, good.
have you now have that as an alternate push out. Now we need to go in there and verify some station values. So if you'll go to the centerline menu and get that label station offset,
Yes.
and then just I think it's still pointed to the same center line. Yes, correct. We say okay, and let's zoom in down to that first inflection point right there. Put your snaps on. There you go. That's
13.291.
so that's the exact same
Yeah.
one as
Now, the
that's it.
quick question. That station 13.291,
Uh-huh.
that corresponds to the center line of
That's
where this
correct.
set
That is
meets this.
correct.
That's that's not the stationing along my new poly line that I made a center line, correct?
That is correct. That is,
Oh, okay. So
that's what I want.
13.291.
Yeah, that's what I want to exactly what you're giving. So now get the other
Okay.
point that's just out there where the gutter starts out on the no up, no
Oh,
back
here.
right there. Yeah, and that one is also 291. Okay.
Yeah, they're parallel. Yeah.
Well, the other one actually on the left hand side they were like a thousandth difference.
Oh, oh. I'm
Give me a
my
little
bad. I
bit.
drew it crooked. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but this will be fine. Now
Okay.
let's go up and find the ending station where that red line comes back to the, yeah, right, all the way up there. And that one is 105,271.
71. Yeah. Okay. So let me write this down. And that's the center line station, of course.
That's correct. Because
Yeah.
what we're going to do is we're going to give it, and we may not need that one. I just wanted to get it documented in case.
Well, I wrote it down here on
Yeah,
the piece of
yeah,
paper.
yeah.
So.
All right, so you can press escape, and we don't need.
Okay.
I just wanted to get what they were, and now we're ready to do some processing.
Okay.
Said, well, wait a minute, we got one more thing to fix. Well, no, I'm going to let you see how it looks first, and then show you why we're going to fix it down on the other end. So let's run
Okay.
roadmap.
All right.
Show you a couple of things. Yeah, wherever that tin file is, I did not send you that tin file. So if you need to either grab a copy of it and put it in this new location, or just say yes and navigate to it here, because we're not going to touch that. We're just going to use it for reference.
Okay. Let me see if I could find it. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's my original. Here it was.
Yep.
I believe. Yeah.
Just say locate, or okay, that's fine. And
All right. Now.
All right, so you got that. Now, before we process this, let's look under the settings, the little gear up at the top.
All right.
Okay. Now, here is, now I turned off just temporarily that process intersections because I
Okay.
only wanted to go that 250 feet.
Sure.
Even when I limit it to 250 feet, if I turn on the intersections, it reads the intersections way down station and still goes out and gets those. So it's
Okay.
still an override. So we'll turn that back on when we're finished and ready to do the whole thing. But now let's
Okay.
look there at the output option. And you see the triangulate and contour.
Yes.
Look at the setup. Okay. Now in that setup, first of all, uncheck that draw contours. We don't need to draw
Mhm.
this for now. Now let's go back to the triangulate tab. And
Mhm.
that's where you normally would do your stuff. You're going to make that triangulation file. That's fine. But now, let's see, hit that select button. Make sure that yeah, let's make sure that's going to our, this is our current working folder, right? Uh, I mean, that's where you,
Yes. 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 Yes.
okay, so that's
Do
fine.
you want to call it the same thing and overwrite, or do you want to call it
Yeah,
something
no,
else?
no, no, that's fine. You could even hit cancel. I just wanted to verify that it's going to
All right.
the folder.
You got it.
That's fine.
Okay. Right on.
Now, while we're here, you see that button right above there that says set colors and layers?
Yes.
Click that.
Oh, is that how
Okay?
you did that?
That you see what you're doing is you're defining based on the named point in the template what color
Yes.
you want. Now your colors are different than mine. So if you hit
Mhm.
that select button there and choose like one of those gray shades to get your pavement, for
So
instance,
this could be my new road, for
yeah,
example,
hmm,
and then your curb can just be a lighter shade,
you could, yeah,
concrete, right?
sure,
Something
that's a
like that.
good
And then what's your other?
Well, other is all of those other things that we haven't named, like the push out on the sides
Oh, so that's
and
basically the
yeah, and
same
then
as road, right? It's a curb.
no, I mean we're when we set TG, everything from the center line out to that edge of pavement is going to be that color. When we
Oh,
say
okay.
curb, everything to that point named curb, which
Yes.
there was a problem I'll tell you about when we get to the templates. That Lon had
All right.
misnamed something there, and then
Oh yeah, the dummy thing. Yeah.
yeah, so and then there's so everything else then
Outside could be green, you know. All
eh,
right.
yeah, now the
Because you're going
outside,
down to your grade. Yeah.
yeah, and if we had other grade points, which we do on the right, but we haven't
We haven't defined
identified,
a sidewalk yet. Yeah.
yeah, so
Haven't.
but we'll probably do that uh later on when we advance that template to include the concrete thickness of the sidewalk and some subgrade
Uh
material,
huh.
all that. Okay,
Right.
so anyway, that's basically what you're doing to tell it what the surfaces should look like. Okay,
Okay.
when they
Yeah.
generate. So and that's it. We'll
Nice.
say yes, exit there,
Nice. Good. Okay.
and say okay to this, or you could do that save settings if you wanted, and it asks for a file, and you could call it towpath or whatever you want to call it, or
I
standard,
might as well put it here.
yeah, or call it standard pavement colors, whatever. It's just an assignment of colors to names. Yeah.
You. Which. Well, we could overwrite it later when we change it. So. Okay. All right. We're good
Now,
with labels. We're good with triangulate. We're good.
yeah. All right. Now,
Do we
um,
need? Let's see what else we need.
yeah. No, we're not going to merge yet. And you had originally draw the 2D template polylines.
I don't think we need
Turn
it because I got a
on.
road underneath it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to draw those. I can always draw them at some point if I need them. But
Mhm.
what that does is it draws all of the cross section lines where it drops a template.
Yeah.
Um, or I'm sorry, not no, it's not the cross section lines. That's the line of the
It just
gutter
shows
line, the
the
base curb.
yeah, it just shows the edges of pavement. And
Yes, but
you're right. It's better it's off. Yeah.
well, no, it's a good thing to have if you need to
Yeah.
say. label those in a set of drawings. You know,
Oh,
what's the radius of the back of curb at those entrances and stuff. So you'll need those.
okay.
Otherwise, but you've already got 2D line work down.
At
You know,
zero, yeah.
yeah, that they're defined as. So,
Mm,
but so you can build this road with the only thing that you've got pre-drawn is the center line of
mhm,
the road. And so
mhm,
that it would draw in 2D
mhm,
lines down at zero of the edge of pavement, face of curb, top of curb, back of sidewalk, all of that stuff would generate. You
mhm,
already have it generated, so there's no need to replicate that at this point.
mhm.
Um, but we
Okay.
did draw the cross section polylines is checked on the, that's going to be
Yeah.
the cross section lines. Okay. So
Yes.
we will do that and we'll say,
Mhm.
okay.
You don't need to elevate lots or
No, not
pads
at, not,
just
not at,
yet.
not at this point. Yeah. We need to get the geometry of all this stuff done first. Okay.
Okay. Would do we want to fix any
Uh,
layers here?
don't really need to, but you could. If you do that, I think you're going to define the
Okay. I've been
individual.
using it all as the same, and I don't have any of these,
That,
so okay.
and
Seem
that,
to be the same layer. That's nice. Okay.
okay.
Set slopes. What does that do?
Well, that, uh, no, really,
Oh, that's to label the slopes. Never mind. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's to label it on the drawing.
Then,
Okay.
and if you look at the output file settings real quick,
Yeah.
uh, you
Yeah.
see all of those existing sections and final sections and
Uh huh.
intersection profiles, intersection center lines. Those will come into play a little bit later.
Mhm. Sure.
Um,
Okay.
but and you see that existing profile at left, existing profile at right. That actually goes through and reads the existing ground and walks
Yeah.
along
For your
the left
for your
edge.
cross sections. When I make my road cross section, I'm gonna need that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll and so we'll turn on those existing and final sections so that we can look at the cross sections, we can make edits to them. And
Mhm.
in fact, that's another way we could modify that little quirky uh, triangle section where the curb overlaps itself, you know, where we transition. Um,
Mhm.
we could do that through cross section editing if we wanted to as well, but it's way too difficult to do it that way, in my opinion. But anyway,
Okay.
so
All
that's
right.
there for you. So we'll say if either okay or cancel, doesn't matter which, and
Okay.
we'll say okay at this point,
You don't
and
want to. We don't need any reports. We don't need this. We don't need
not at
defaults.
this point. I think
Are we
we're okay
good here?
with that. Yeah,
We're not doing an intersection right now.
yeah.
Okay.
So we're
Okay.
it's just basically that. You got your surface is pointed to the right one. That's correct. Now I tightened up your station interval up there. I kept it as
Yeah, I
50
saw that.
meters, but I did it as you go through an intersection, it drops it there to 2 feet.
Mhm.
That
Okay.
helps smooth out some of that curvature on the
Okay.
edges again. All right, so we'll
Good.
say okay to
Very
that.
good.
All right, so say okay to
So let's hit.
that.
We'll hit OK.
Yeah, and
All
then
right.
hit your save button there. Okay, now double click on the towpath
Mhm.
so that that comes up. And let's take a look at the changes here. Now, the very first thing at the top, you see that
Mhm.
station range 0 to 250. That's what I
Yes.
set there. And
Got
then
it.
also look at the button to the right that says station settings.
Sure.
And now,
Oh. Okay.
and here's where I did. So these are specific special stations that I want to drop a template of. So you notice up
Okay.
there at the top,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. So it
did
does a cross section.
the
Yeah.
4, 6, and then as I got down to that 13.291, I also have those set in
I
there.
gotcha. So that's how you made all these quirky little things that don't
Yeah,
normally
but
appear
all
in irregular places,
right, but
like over here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, now
Okay.
okay, go back to that button a second. No, the
Okay.
station settings.
All
Okay,
right.
and here's what I'm going to show you about a little foreshadowing, if you will. You see that next box below that says cut and fill gaps?
Yes.
That's where we turn on and off the processing of lot lines and building pads. When we get into
Okay.
the wetland areas, then we need to,
Mhm.
get that stuff down, it's just going to go out and reach the ground very quickly. So we want those sites
Right.
to work in those zones. Where we don't, we turn off those edge settings
Mhm.
and let this, generate the lot line elevation. So that's how we handle that. We'll do that when we get to that point. All right.
Got it.
Okay. So let's see. Scroll that upper list a little bit down to the 13s, the 13.29 something. All right. So I've got
That's where the
nine,
where we
two.
hit the right of way.
Yeah. So I think that's really what I needed there. Okay, because that took care of that little bit of a flip up on the left. All right. So that should be okay.
Mhm.
Now, if we let's see, scroll back up from there, and I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and 1. Scroll down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I've got 2.2 goes up to 1, then 5, and then 13.291 or 290 rather, 291, and then what's after 291? 4.6, 4.6,
Mhm.
8, and then after that is 14,
Mhm.
14,
Okay. I
1.4.
see what you did.
Yeah, so what I want to do is I just want to get these down so we can add them back quickly. And I want you to go up there and sit on the first one and just hit the remove button repeatedly. I'm going to clear this list out.
Okay.
Yeah, just, yeah, right there and click on the first and then just keep
Oh,
hitting the,
you gotta. Oh, you
yeah,
gotta. Oh. Oh,
no, you can't do that. You have to,
oh no. Okay.
yeah. So just click, 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 click. There you go.
Okay.
All right, now say okay to that. And the reason I want to do this is I just want to show you what happens when you don't do it. Okay.
Sure.
Now on the
Mhm.
template button,
Sorry.
let on the template button. Now remember, templates can be either a template or a template series, and we're going to use the template series, which is what
Mhm.
we
Yes.
have there. So so that's already assigned. So let's cancel that, and I want to hit the edit button to the right of that. Okay?
Okay.
And that edit is this is where these things start. Now, here's where I originally got into some trouble.
Mhm.
That 13.290 is where the no gutter ended. And
Yes.
when I first looked at this, I was putting in 0 as the beginning station. But apparently,
Yes.
what you have to do, and I had to go in and research this a bit. You normally would put the beginning station and the ending station
Right.
of
Yeah.
each of these individual pieces. But because we're starting at 0, you don't have to put the 0 in there. So that's why it's not there. It doesn't hurt to have it.
Mhm.
So we're going up to 13.29. And then we put in the beginning station of the next. And just like on the beginning, if this is the last template that we're going to use, and that's the one that just ends the sidewalk, then we don't need the ending station. So it's basically, you could think of two missing lines here. There's a 0 plus 0, 0 for left no gutter, up to
Mhm.
13.290 left no gutter. And then we start essentially at 13.290, but we can't do it, it won't do it exactly. It has to be a slight
Can you
difference.
put it at 291? How far does the slight
Well,
station
yeah,
difference have
that's
to be?
let's do that. In fact, when I was doing this here, I was just
Yeah.
trying to do this like like this, and now and this business of transition with the previous template and series, that's um that's normally we would turn that on, but there is another processing switch uh, that has an effect on later. Excuse me. So here's what you need to look about it here. Uh, if your help screen open on the other screen, drag it over onto this one.
My help screen is fine. I just
I mean,
can
I
you see
can't.
my help screen?
Oh, I can't see it. I would say drag it over onto this screen.
Whoops. Okay, I'd like to share the
Can you just drag it over onto the screen?
I don't I only have one screen. Um
Oh, oh, I see.
so let me make a
So
new share.
you're sharing an application instead of a screen, aren't you?
Hang on, hang on. There
Okay,
we go. There you go.
okay, there you go. All right, now when that, what this does is, uh, and this is the series editor. Okay, so here's how this works.
Yes.
If you give it start and stops, and whether or not you transition or not, otherwise is going to be what follows here, and where I got into some trouble to and couldn't figure it out. But here's a template that from here goes from the center line out to the curve structure, out to edge of another. Well, they've got those misnamed, and that's an edge of pavement, another edge of pavement. So whatever that happens to be. You wouldn't normally have a curb and then go out to the. Well, no, I guess
Oh.
this is the. You know what this is? This is a median. They're defining
Oh, okay.
median.
Yeah.
That's another way of doing that. So
Okay.
so what they're saying is up to 0 plus 30, it's the standard set of width,
Mhm.
and then from one,
30 to 100. Yeah.
well, but this range is undefined. But then we go from 1 to 1 plus 40, and it's using
Oh,
this,
okay.
and then we go from 140.1, so just barely past it to start to
Okay.
use this. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
so and then this is where it says transition from the previous template. And so
Yeah.
this template got a wider width for this
Uh-huh.
pavement over here. And that's what made it create this line in here at a slope, because it transitioned from 30 up to 1. So
Yes.
it says 70 feet. It
Yes.
just linearly interpolates that thing there. Now we get right here 140, and that's really where template 3 starts as well.
Mhm.
But
Right.
it can't start exactly at that. In effect, it does, but for the processing to work, you see, it needs
You,
this.
you have to do it at least a short distance
Yeah.
past. Okay.
So I did the short distance of, just like we're doing here. Point. I went from 0.290 to
Yes.
0.29. I'm thinking 1,000th would have, that'd be a short distance. Problem is, it's too short, and for whatever
Yes.
reason, it doesn't recognize it there. I could do it as point. So going from 0.290, I could do it to point 0.3. So
So
basically,
it's got to be at least point
100.
1. It can't be
Well,
a thousandth. It's got to be.
point oh 0.01. They can be 100
Okay.
instead of the other one. So, um,
Okay.
but it was really kind of bugging me there as to what's going on with it. But then that's where I found it out. And then let's see, the existing cross section, the process. Let's see here. Above, you can run. Let's see. It's an effective way to accomplish super elevation. That's another use for it later. Lane lane widening, okay, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not pivoting to station 5 plus 6. All right, so reference center line. I'm trying to see where it gave us that. I guess it was just right up here. Yeah, so for the exact for the, so reading right here,
Mhm.
template 1, that's 0 to 0 plus 30. And then it goes to 1 plus 0. So look at how they've created these down here. This says station 30, the first line.
Yes.
And then it says template 2 at 1 plus 0, 0,
Mhm.
but also template 2 at 1 plus 40. So you see that has the start and stop station. Template
Okay.
3 has the start and template 4.
See, I'm confused because template two is the only one that starts and stops, and they're transitioning not like we're doing it. I think we're transitioning using the template point center line. I don't know what kind of
Well,
transitioning they're
well,
doing here. This confused me when I read this before
okay.
we had the phone call.
All right. Well, this was back when we were talking about the, before we were putting in the flare, we were
Yes.
just shift over there on the edge to shift between templates. And when we
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that without the flares, then
Yeah.
in fact, we're going to process this in just a minute without these flares and let you see what this is doing and how this.
Okay.
So, so normally this one would be 0 template
Mhm.
1 and 30 template
Yeah.
1, and then template 2. You see, it's not starting where template 1 is ending. It's starting here at 1, and it's allowing it to transition back to this one. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
we give the ending of template 2 so that it has a target for template 3 to transition back to.
Mhm.
Okay. That's why this is the only one that has the start stop. So if we did not have this 140.1 in here, you would see this curve line go like that.
Right.
Okay. So
Yes.
that's why we're pushing this all the way out to
Okay.
here.
I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We stop and then we start immediately thereafter. Well, this is a short distance thereafter for template 3. And then it goes out to template 4 at 200, which then brings this line closer into here. Okay. And so that winds up, yeah, you can see the median there in the middle. I don't know if it's another, there we go. So this is really, that's an alternate way of doing a median that had curves in it as well. So, it's thick
Gotcha.
here and that brings in that turn lane here and all of that. Okay.
It wouldn't make a radius though, so I don't know if well, we could talk about that later.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a,
It's another nightmare that you'd have
well,
to get through. So
the
yeah.
way that I make
So
it.
let's
And
share you
now,
back with.
yeah, go back to the other app. There we go. Okay, so now, so what we really need to do is instead of 291, we need to make this, so 29 was really 30, and
Yeah.
291 was where both of those started and stopped on, where
Yes.
they started. Okay, so there's
Mhm.
that 1/100. Now again, I had kept that at 291, and it said okay, it's essentially the same, and it wound up making, instead of that nice square transition there, it pushed a lengthy 45, a transition thing out. All right.
Mhm.
So now if I say transition width, I'll turn that back on for that one. So I'm now going from here to here, and notice that this is changing. And what we do is when we say add, we pick the center line. Now this is actually optional, um, but that does tie it to that road center line. If we don't have it set, it just, um, if I do that and choose cancel, it should. I guess it's not. Let me see if I guess I'd have to do another one separately if I. No, I think once that's set, I would have to probably rebuild this. But anyway, um, that reference center line is where it's going to get its start and stop stationing from. Now, if I had a different, like a construction baseline or something out here, I could reference it to that and define the stationing based on this other reference. But right now it's tied to the center line. If we don't supply that, it pulls the stationings that you define up here from whatever center line in here that it is assigned to. Okay, so that's exactly what we want in this particular case.
Mhm.
If we were applying this same template series um, on another road alignment name, like we had another road, coming off the east property line over here, or wherever. I guess this is the east. But anyway, if we wanted to use this same template series without having to redefine it and give it a name for the other road, then we would make sure that this reference line is not set so that when we apply it in this definition up here to this road, it gets those stations from that center line. We apply it to another road and it gets the center lines or the stationing, which would be the same, assuming similar geometry. Then it would take it from that other center line. But otherwise, with this set, and if I'm trying to
Mhm.
reuse this in another location, it's going to, like, way over here might be the road where I want to start and go along that stationing. It's going to go to that, try to apply this with these stations based on the stations from this alignment. So as you can see, that would cause issues. There's some major problems. Now, so that is their template series. We'll save that and we'll exit that for a minute. And now right here's where we had this template point center line. And for right now, I'm going to check it and say cancel so that it goes away. And I want to do that just so you can see what's going on,
Mhm.
particularly with this set of station settings that we're not going to be using. You can see how this is going to apply. So if I
Okay.
say okay, and we watch what happens, it's going to generate the roadway. Now, again, remember we took the flares out. Let me turn off here for a second.
Somehow our polylines got thick. Okay, there we go.
Well, that's because when I was doing it, I like to see my polyline weights, but for this
Mhm.
process, I'm going to look at it here. So now,
Okay.
so this is the resulting set of uh,
Goes right to the gutter. Clear in point one feet of station. It goes right to the gutter. I can see underneath the line work there.
yeah. Part of it is here that that's the perimeter, and I'm going to let's just take that off for just a second. Uh, well,
Mhm.
didn't do what I was expecting. Where's your undo button? Uh,
Right above,
right
right
there.
there.
Yeah. So I wanted this to come up here and then kick this back. So it does that. Oh, I think maybe let me try something here first. We didn't look yet at the templates. I wanted to show you. This is the no gutter template. Now, Lon had your originals here for this curb. He had that labeled like BCL, back of curb left, and then over here he had
Mhm.
BCR.
Right.
Well, that was causing some problems because what
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
when you give this curb?
Yeah.
Uh,
If they're not continuous names,
well,
they don't transition. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that CRB, and you notice I put on this other side CRB dash R because it won't let me name that
Yes.
CRB. on both sides. So, and that was what Ron had as CBL or BCL and BCR.
Mhm.
But you need that break, you need that dash in there because otherwise it didn't recognize BC. If he had said BC dash L and BC dash R, it would have worked. But it
Oh.
was thinking of them as two completely unrelated items. Okay.
Oh. Okay. So it's how he labeled it, not okay.
Yeah. And so
All
some
right.
and TG, that's our, and remember what you're labeling here is not necessary. It's not, I mean, you're
It's
defining,
the end of the gutter. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the end point from where we start to where we end. That's what we're naming. So that point is called TG.
Right.
That point,
Actually, our curb. We lost our gutter. I'm looking at this template.
well, I'm
We.
remember we're
Okay.
looking, yeah, we're editing the no gutter template. And
Okay.
so
All
this
right.
point now is curb, from which
All
we
right.
immediately go to our cut and fill. Okay.
Right.
And on this side over on the right, then we have this point RSR, which could be, I don't know what RS is supposed to stand for. Uh,
I
which,
think he wanted.
and it doesn't matter. You know,
Oh. Oh. There was a sidewalk.
well, there was a midpoint. He had an RS left and an RS.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
There. Yeah.
so
Okay.
really what this really needs to do is if there's a grass strip in here,
Yeah.
we define that, and then we
And then another sidewalk. Yeah.
sidewalk. Yeah, and it shouldn't be that same thing, but we'll resolve that when we fine tune this. But in any case, so I
Mhm.
took out then that little dummy thing was completely unnecessary. We didn't need it. I do know why he set it in, and it's good thinking because he was thinking he was going to have to go from this that did not have a gutter to another one that did have a gutter. He thought he's going to maybe need to have that extra little placeholder so he could tie those names together.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we don't need it because we're going to tie these similar names from this one to the other one as well. And remember,
Okay. Yeah.
TT ends where it ends. In this case, it's right up against the face of the gutter. In the other case, it's going to be up against where I mean, this is up against the face of the curb. Whereas in the other one,
Mhm.
and we'll exit this and repeat that, but this time use the gutter one, which was this one. Then here we get the same thing. TG ends
Right.
here right at the face.
Right.
Then we've got curb and curb right, and there's your TG, and then RSR, which again we'll resolve. Now, here's the other thing too. As we are, I mean, let's assume we've got this curb and gutter all the way out to here, but when we get out to here, this road is flaring way out, so this width
Yes.
gets further out. Okay,
Mhm.
so we've got this point called TG
Mhm.
that follows that flared position.
That's right. That's the key.
Yeah, and so
I
when
think I had
we
the transition line the wrong. I was using the wrong transition line originally. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so when we and then everything that moves, in this case TG, then
Uh huh.
everything beyond TG gets pushed as
Moves with it.
well. Okay, and it's
Yeah.
either radial to those curves or it's just, it's perpendicular to whatever that center line is that defines it. That's why
Mhm.
we had that little bit of a goof up right in here because it folds over.
Started going radial. Yeah.
Yeah. And all right, so uh, and when we define this template, and I suggest that we do once we get the tops looking good. But when we start to design and define the subgrades, and we can do that so we can get a handle on the materials and the true excavation and such, then you can define the subgrade as so many inches deep and so much distance
Yeah.
out, like you did this top. Okay. But
Yeah.
if you did that, in this case, let's say it was 10 feet, but out here, of
Mhm.
course, it's, 22 feet, eight, you know,
Uh huh.
12 feet, however long it, however wide it needs to go in the
Uh huh.
flares, then what would happen is this would go out there, but the subgrade would still stay at that 10 feet if we defined it as
Oh,
10 feet. But
yeah.
you define that, you can define it not just as 10 feet, but you can define it as a distance of PG. So it says, okay, so
Okay.
wherever PG is, go
It
out that
moves with
far.
TG. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
moves with the sub base. The subgrade moves with the TG. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
That.
it
Yeah.
moves with whatever. Like we
Yeah.
could also, we got this one back here called curb, and we could tie it to curb, or we could even say, I want this subgrade to go a distance of TG plus 3. And then that means it
Uh huh.
goes to TG and
Oh, I follow you. Yeah.
okay.
I was using something like SiteNet to do the. I wasn't even bothering with the subgrades because it was just adding more chaos to the.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I
So,
I I don't do my cut and fill volumes that way, but
well,
with the road sections. But
well, that's fine then. That'll, and we can leave it like that if you'd like. Um, because I'm not here to upend your entire workflow. If you've got a solution there using SiteNet or using SiteOps or whatever you're doing with it, then by all
yeah.
means, continue with that if that's giving you success. But
What
I
when
just
you,
want
when
to
you
let,
do the subgrades, they actually they make a surface out of your subgrades, and there were so many in the
yeah,
settings. There were so many layers. I got scared, so
right.
I said I can't even barely handle the surface. Let's just work on the surface and get cute later on if we survive.
Yeah. And so what the advantage is when you're using those is that it actually calculates the volumes of all of those as it walks down these road lines.
Yeah, if you needed to do a material takeoff of concrete, sure. Yeah.
Right. Exactly right. But it does it by average end area, not
Mhm.
surface to surface, not a vertical comparison. It does it just in the old days, like we used to use average end area. But it
Yes,
is
sir.
smart enough to know that as it goes around curves, it uses,
Mhm.
it
Yes.
processes a curvilinear distance along the center line, and it doesn't have those chop, chop, chop squared off sections. So, but
Got
anyway,
it.
uh, that's for possibly for another day even. But
If
once
we survive the surface, yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah.
so once and once that whatever the end point of that subgrade is, and what you would do is like you would end one say a TG or a TG plus 3 or back a curve. Um,
Yes.
Let me go over here to this side to TG. And then you would start one, wherever that sidewalk started. So you would have, because you give it a start distance horizontally, and normally you leave it blank because it starts at the center line. But in the
Uh huh.
case of something out here, you would compute that. Now that might be, you got 10 feet, a foot and a half.
Of topsoil, 6-inch topsoil with seed, and then another 10 feet of sidewalk with
Yeah,
10 inch, 12-inch concrete. Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm saying where this is going to start. Let's see. I'll just show you in here.
TG controls where that. Yeah. TG controls where that starts. Yeah.
Let's see, that'll be on this right hand side. So I'll go to subgrade. Um, and so let's just, I'll put one up called, I'm going to leave this blank. This is the line I was talking about, this horizontal.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Uh
then
huh.
the depth, we'll call it, say, a 6 inch.
Uh huh.
And it's going to go for a distance of, let's just say 15 feet. And we'll call it concrete, okay, for a
Okay.
sidewalk. And we'll say, okay. Now, here's
Yeah.
what it looks like. So it starts because I
Uh huh.
left the zero blank. Okay,
Yes.
it went out 15 feet
Mhm.
and then went up. No, it also said to follow the grade. So you can see this is parallel to this grade. This part
Uh
is
huh.
parallel to that part. Okay,
Okay.
so that one then is if I edit that and
Mhm.
instead of that horizontal offset there, let's make it say 13 feet.
Gotcha.
You see, it goes now. And you see, once it tries to find something, it
Yes.
and if that were if we showed the fill slope on this
Yeah. Doesn't make. Yeah.
then it would problem is the
100
hill
might not.
slope is beyond my distance here. If I
Right.
had if I had this as instead of straight up, if I just simply said continue slope,
Mhm.
then um, it should.
Mhm.
Oh boy, that's not
Well,
displaying.
it's
They
going out until it's trying to find
it
something,
go
but
out until it hits the daylight. But
yeah.
so anyway, so what this is, and the only thing, and I won't belabor this point, but if I define that start point, that's 13 feet. That's 13 feet no matter what happens to that TG. So
Mhm.
if it flares out beyond 13 feet, this subgrade still tries to start at 13 feet. Well,
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want this to be
You want
TG.
it to tie into the TG. Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
I needed, let's call that 2 feet. I don't know, what is that? It's an 18, so
Yeah.
it's a 2 foot gutter. So let's make it TG
2 foot.
+3. Okay.
There
And
you go.
so once I do that, now let me also put this back to uh, straight up. These are different ways of
Mhm.
handling that. Let's put this as, um, sorry, it's not what I meant to do. That, there we go. And really, if I defined that, let's just
Yeah, the
define.
distance is too
Yeah,
far, but I see what
yeah.
you're doing.
So if I just made it like 3 feet and then
Yeah.
continue slope, then that should,
There you go.
okay. And um, and see that goes. See how it comes up there, daylights it,
Yes.
and if I'm in cut, well then it doesn't
Just ends.
here. Yeah, it just ends at the end of that. So in any
Good.
case, but because this is tied to a start point
Yeah.
definition, I can use math. The
It moves
definition,
with it. Yeah. Yeah.
whenever TG moves, that's always going to be 3 feet away from TG.
It's like a zipper. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now, and here's one thing I've noticed, and it still behaves this way. Curbs are a little bit wonky because
Yeah.
normally
Yeah.
this curb right here that
Mhm.
defines this back of curb. That's where that point is. But
Right.
that's all defined by these geometries in here. Okay.
Yes.
So, um, uh, but unlike TG, which is a named point, this CRB, see, I've got a TG on the left and a TG on the right. But when I'm doing
Yeah.
a curb, it won't let me have just CRB. I have to differentiate those two.
Oh.
All right.
Oh.
And it's because this curve is a structure, it has multiple points to it. So I can't,
Right.
let's say if I wanted this subgrade to start right at CRB,
Right.
at the back of my curve, I can't reference the subgrade to
No.
start at CRB or at CRBR. I have to say TG +3. I have to know
2.
what that's going to
Yeah.
be. Yeah, or two. Yeah, rather instead of three.
Okay.
All right.
Fair
So,
enough. I
so,
I
so
never knew that about curbs.
yeah,
Okay.
curbs, and I couldn't find it documented anywhere, but curbs just don't behave in terms of the named point rules.
Uh-huh.
They should, but for
Yeah.
whatever reason they don't.
All
And I
right.
haven't had a
I
coherent
fair
discussion
enough.
with the
But
developers
that's
on that. So
yeah, yeah, but good to know.
yeah,
Good to
so
know. I
anyway,
don't use subgrade enough to know that, so.
yeah, and well, there are other places where that may or may not apply too, and it could be. I'm going to say, not, I'm not going to say the changes. Um,
Uh-huh.
and some of those might be like here when I choose uh, this output options setup and I set these colors.
Uh-huh.
Well, now you see CRB is defined, even though there's a CRB dash R.
Yes.
but lawns, BCL and BCR were not being defined. Okay.
Oh. Oh.
So this
Yeah.
stuff really
Okay.
gets a little wonky, and I'm a little bit unclear.
Yeah.
Now this
I know what
other
other. I guess
side,
other would be anything between. I don't
well,
know.
the other is the RSR, but if
Right.
I
Oh.
had it, if I had another one beyond it, like if I called that
Sidewalk. Maybe that would
SW,
be sidewalk.
yeah, SW or WALK, anything that I called that, you would see that show up here, unless it was the last one. If it's the last one, it just says other, and then the outside is the cut and fill banks, basically. Okay, and whether they have berms and ditches defined in the cut and fills or benches or whatever. So that's where you would see those. All
The
right.
color style. Can you define it? Well, it's going by grade ID. How else would you define it?
Well, it
I
could just
mean,
be,
there's another option there to how to define it. We got it right now to grade ID. Grade ID. What would be another option to do it?
well, actually right now it's let's see something.
That's fine. Yeah, what you got there.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it down. Not quite. Oops, it's a little too dark. Let's get it up. Yeah, so 82. You're quite so neon green. But right now it says by grade ID, and that is this
Yeah.
right here. The other one is by
Oh.
or by the layer, and that layer depends on back where you hid before those layer settings, where you
Yes.
could assign all of these to different layers. Okay, so you could do it
Okay.
as well, and
All right. Fair enough.
you could also, if you said use the grade name for layer suffix, now you've got all of those things called I forget what it's called dash new W. There's
Mhm.
so that's the base layer name. And
Yes.
the suffixes, then you would have a dash TG, a dash CRB, and a dash whatever. Um,
Fair enough. All
and
right.
that would differentiate the layers, and you would say by layer, and then you could go back in your layer manager and set all those colors to be by layer. Otherwise, you just take these as great idea. Okay.
Mhm.
So just be aware that those curved points are a little bit goofy in terms of names. Now, so so we have um, that was why this template series is not behaving. 13 plus 2, 9, 13, 3, 0. Let me turn this transition off. I don't think that should be an issue. I should see. That's what I was looking for there earlier. So you see how this green line, in fact, if I,
Mhm.
let's just isolate, there we go. So you see it comes up here, goes out to this edge, and there you see that little bit of difference. See that, there's that 0.01.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
So,
that's not so. That's overcomable.
oh yeah, yeah.
That's a lot better than what it was before.
And in fact, if I,
Can make it 3-0 instead of 3-0, and 301, 1,000th
well, here's the other
is
thing. If
not going to make a
I
difference.
kept that at this, where it's exactly the same
Uh huh.
state. Oops, sorry, that's 2.9. Let's keep it the same. station. And now when it processes,
Hmm.
see, that's what I
Yeah.
keep getting this bit right here because my
Yeah.
difference wasn't enough. And so it goes up to that, I don't know what that,
So that was my problem right there. My distance wasn't enough.
yeah. So to
Okay.
get to make that behave, then we're going to go up to this 291 for this. Oops. We got to fix that at some point too. The profile is not getting the right profile. What
No.
is, where is that profile, by the way? I'll put it there. Do you have it in a different,
I Let me see if I could find it. Da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. I had made one.
yeah, you had one that was, had those two vertical curves in it.
Yeah. There it is.
Okay. You'll need to
Yeah.
send me that at some point if I'm going
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Okay.
to. So now, all right, so there's that. And now let's edit this file, which
Mhm.
will actually not start this until 291.
Mhm.
And we will make this 301 and
Mhm.
let it transition, if you will.
Mhm.
Save
Interesting.
it. And now you'll see when it processes.
Yeah. See, these are highly unusual cases that they don't cover in the webinars, and why would you? Nobody would normally do a road like this. Why would anybody need it, right?
Well, yeah, or the real reason they don't cover it though is because they don't have enough time. So that, we're into
Mhm.
our second day of collaboration, but with me doing some digging in between.
Yes.
Um, so, and now you see also too, we got a couple of little things here that happen. And
Mhm.
when it draws, and uh, mm,
If you want to use, if my controls are wonky, you want to use remotely. It's probably hard. If you want to use the cube
oh, there it is.
command, you might be able to see that a lot better.
I forget I don't have the thing in telecad, so that's why. All right, so now I just wanted to be back at that, and I wanted to what I
Uh huh.
wanted to look at is uh,
Mhm.
these couple of things here. Um,
Mhm. There you go. And you can view them with the cube there. Perfect.
so now a couple of things that it does because of that transition. You see this thing that kind of,
Oh.
yeah, you see that mess in there?
Oh. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of that, that's some of that overlap that you don't see up here because
Yes.
it's timing there. So if I'm here, you see it's coming out and it's that shift in there, and that normally gets just sort of ignored, but
Right.
but
I
technically,
see.
yeah, technically it's not being ignored. So we can either try to, you know,
Look good in plan view. It just doesn't look good
yeah,
here. I.
yeah, because see that's going to, and you see that little, you see that this little thing comes here, and
Yes.
then back to here. That's where it shifts from going, perpendicular to that. And you see even at the top, I can't zoom in there very tight. Uh,
That's 13.301. Yeah. You might want to back
yeah,
up a bit. There you go. Yeah, I see.
but even the curved top. right there is slightly different,
Yes.
which brings up
Yes.
this as a quick let me verify this real quickly. I've got 5 and 1 and a 1 inch drop, 1824.6. Okay. I've got 5 and 1 inch drop, 1824.6. Yep, that's the problem with point and shoot is sometimes you miss. All right, so 5,
Mhm.
1824. Of course, the width is 18 now because we have a gutter. We'll make sure that's the same here as well. We have 5, 18, 1 drop, 18, 4 bases. Oh,
Mhm.
base is 24. Yeah, oh, yeah. The base of the other one was 6 because obviously we don't have the 18-inch gutter. Right. So they are the same. I just want to make sure we didn't have a slight difference in measurement here. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
well, anyway, you see a little bit of that stuff, and that could get resolved in some of this if we are at, it's a 2.9. Now, if we make that 3.9, let's see what happens with that one. Okay, so it changed, but it didn't. Um,
Made it a little bit messier. Yeah.
all they did was push it out further. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
so that's not obviously not what we want to do. So let's get back. We'll keep it restricted from 291
301. All
30,
right.
and let me try this transition off, which I think that part's not going to have much visual effect at all.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, it did something.
okay, let's see what we did. If we take a look at, oh, oh
That's fine. Continue
yeah,
on.
I forget that weird little windowy thing, uh, which is nice, but when you get out of practice of using it, it
Mhm.
sort of messes me up a little.
Well, I think that may have done something.
Now, I think that's
Turning the
why,
transition off
yeah,
is
so
what the key
I
was.
think that's why I had it off. Um,
That's much, 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 much better.
yeah, so now you can see. Now, I don't
I
exactly,
mean, I could live with that for a surface. I mean, it's not a perfect surface,
well,
but I could live with that.
that's what we're going to fix. Now, I'm not sure why
See, that's where the transition
that
goes to radial. So it's not even
well,
meeting that
yeah,
point
but
because
we're
it's
not
going off the center line of road. Yeah.
yeah, but we're not radial uh, yet. We haven't given it that center line.
Yeah. I
I'm
think
more,
because it's using the center line of road, it's doing it perpendicular off of there. But
it has something to do with. Uh, Now I'm in plan right now,
sorta, yeah.
and See, that's what, it's almost like there's a separate point in the template.
Mhm.
Oh, you know what I think that is? And it is a separate point in the template. It's because uh, this curb is up here. This curb is here.
Mhm.
So there's that extra point, but it's not a named point, so I don't even think I can tie it to.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I'll have to remember not to do subdivisions like this ever again.
oh no,
Uh,
no, no, no. I don't
uh,
ever want you to be discouraged from doing it. I think what we need to do is do this and just get a handle on the approach. So we've got that little bit of and that's what part of what caused that little wonky, goofy triangle in the surface. But we'll
mhm.
just, when we're done, we'll just real quickly simplify that out of there and make it happen. All right.
Mhm.
So there's that. Now let's go to here, and this time we're going to put in the template point center line, which is this entrance left. Okay, so that's one that we're going to use. And notice when I choose that, that it lets me choose TPC, um, which is a template point centerline file. Now that can hold more than just that one, which we're going to add to it in a minute. And if we edit it, we can see that we have chosen the template ID that we want to push is TG. Which side, left or right, whether we adjust the remaining template IDs, in other words, the ones beyond
Mhm.
TP, and then skip any missing points that it doesn't find. I'm not sure what skip travel is necessary. But anyway, here's the reference template is that no gutter to with gutter PSF. That's the template series file. Okay, so that's the template to use. Sometimes it's just a single template, but this is actually a template series. So it knows from here to here,
Mhm.
it's going to use the one, and then it's going to switch over and go from that point
Mhm.
forward using the other. But as it does that, it's going to look at this
Mhm.
and so if I hit edit, if I double click that, see, I've chosen this TG. I can pull it out of my list of template points if I have built that into my library, which
Mhm.
if that popped a button or a window up somewhere, I'm not seeing it.
Mhm.
You can cancel that. Just wanted to show you where that was.
I don't see any button that popped up at all.
Oh, okay. I was just in that. I hit that list button, so I don't know if it brought up the library or not. But anyway, so this centerline file that I'm defining, there you can see is entrance flare left. Now we also have entrance flare right. And you can
Mhm.
select file, screen pick edit, blah, 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 which side to process. And then there's adjust the next outside grade distance. That means the ones beyond it keep pushing, keep pushing. If you don't have that on, it only
Mhm.
pushes that one.
Right.
And then skip travel lane for parallel grades. To be honest with you, Andrew, I don't have any idea what that means. That's new
Neither do I.
to me in
No.
this version. I don't think it applies to us. So, if I get a chance, I'll research and let you know later. I don't want to take up your time to go dig it out with the helps and stuff like that. But anyway,
Mm.
it has something to. Well, I'm not sure. It leaves the travel lane alone if you've got some kind of parallel thing down there. All right, and then you can skip the grade, and the grade again is talking about these points that name the position on the grading in areas where the center line may be missing. Uh, and that means not not the roadway center line. but
Mhm.
the center line right up here that we're talking
Yes.
about. So where it goes missing, skip pushing that out. In other words, pull it back where it's supposed to be.
Uh huh.
But if you have a definition that has that center line, this center line out here, and that can have gaps in it. That can have, a center line file can have empty space in it. And so that's another way of doing driveway processing. You can do it like that. And so if you skip where that driveway is and it puts the edge of pavement back where it's supposed to be, or if you don't
Mhm.
skip it, then it keeps pushing it out where I think that's how that would work.
I'd have to go into the help.
Yeah, in any case, let's not take the time to do it now, but this one is the adjust the next outside grade distance. In other words, push that out as this gets pushed out. Okay. So
Mhm.
now with that defined, uh, cancel that. So the entrance left. So that's all good. Let's see the results of this one, and we have to hit the process button because we didn't change anything. So now here's what I was ultimately getting to. You see
Mhm.
this. You see, I've got this real long straight piece,
Yes.
and then I've got
That's actually below grade, right?
and then, well, this is the back of the curb.
Right.
So these are all those curb lines.
Mhm.
I really see. There's the drop.
It
There's
separated the face of the curb or something.
yeah,
Um,
but it
not sure what it did, but
sort of does it up there too. But anyway, yeah, I guess that's what it is. All right. So, but you see, because of these drops,
yes.
or because our template interval is 50 feet, so it starts at
Yes.
zero. Uh, bebops along, reads, it finds this, and so it tries to come around this thing. So it goes at least to the, I'm not sure what governs the length of this straight line segment. It's like it dropped a line across there and then dropped it here and then dropped it here. But that's not well enough defined in terms of looking like circular geometry. Let's point to it back here, for instance. So I've got those nice big square chunky pieces, and I want that to be more like this line, the
Yes.
smooth arc. So the
Mhm.
only way of doing that is to force it to examine the template drop at a closer
Okay.
angle every so often.
Okay.
Right?
Now I know why we did
Yeah.
those
So let's
cross
go back.
sections a little bit closer together. All right.
So let's go back now to
Mhm.
our path, and up here in station
Mhm.
settings, we're going to
Mhm.
put these back in. Now, I did some experimenting and found that these were, um, I got them really tight
Mhm.
for the first foot or so,
Mhm.
because that's where it's the most horizontal light. So that helps to define that. So I don't really, I don't know the rule to tell you.
I
Uh,
don't think there's a rule. I think you just have to make them close enough to define that in order to get rid of that. So what you used was fine. I'd probably use it on a future one.
yeah. So,
There's
so
nothing. Yeah.
yeah, but there's no real need to keep going 1.2, 1.4. I think
No,
that's what my experimentation came out. So now I just went and added it by each foot now up to
that's
five.
fine. There's a certain point. Once you get past the point where the rupture is in the grade, you can.
Didn't leave it alone. Yeah,
Yeah.
and four.
And this will work on both sides of the driveway.
Yes. It goes all the way
Okay.
across the definition. I'm up to five,
Mhm.
and then I went to the 13.29s. So I'm going to actually say 13.29
Mhm.
and 13.3 Let's see. Let's add 13 points. And so that's every. It's really tight through there. I don't know that we even really need those three to be like
Well,
that.
that's okay. Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
see.
So we're gonna just sort of smooth this out to 13.5 and then 14. And let's just put one more here and see what it looks like. 15. So this is a little bit different from what we had before. And I think that's all we really will need to
Mhm.
go with that. Let's say okay. We'll say okay. And we will reprocess.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
there you see those got, you see those are
That
those,
fixed the problem with the curve, but yeah.
and it smoothed that out. Now, it's
Yeah.
also got, just like we saw down there below, or up there in this area, we also saw a little bit of overshooting overhang out here that you
Mhm.
see here, but I don't know that it's like I think it's, see that I'm not real sure how to necessarily resolve those lines, but my surface gets generated pretty nicely. Um, let's see, but that's all because of some of this. I will see the difference. They're on the same level,
Mhm.
so they're all one color. But if you follow my arrow, I'm going to come up here to this little sort of slightly high point. It kicks it out
Mhm.
here and comes back in this direction and then
Mhm.
goes across. Same thing for this
Mhm.
one. So it's got these little triangular rampy looking areas. And this
Mhm.
one right here as well as it
Mhm.
comes up and it's generating this because it's still trying to process this as it comes into it before it kicks back. So it's right in
Mhm.
that transition. So those are some of the little edits that we're going to have to take
Mhm.
care
Mhm.
of, but we'll do that. Now, let's go back and I'm going to let you drive and we're going to define the right-hand side and let you reprocess it and then we'll run through the surface edits to show you how we fix that. So yeah, so we did all of that is in the definition of that center line, that towpath roads. And excuse me, we had the template point center line file, which is called entrance left. Now let's choose that. And instead of calling that entrance left, let's call that, well, we'll leave it set to that for now, but here's what I want to do. We'll cancel that for a second. Uh, so entrance left, hit the edit button.
Mhm.
And let's just call this when it comes up and we're going to save it. Now we're going to add to it. And again, we have the reference template is fine. Okay, so we're going to now add the right hand side and that,
I forgot what we called the left one.
well, the point is called TG. That's why I like to use things like EP or EOP because I can remember that. So, so type in that template point ID, you're telling it which point to push. So that is TG, whatever that stood for. Now the center line file is, we created that file, right? When we drew that line, there it is, perfect.
Mhm.
Now that that throws me even still today because the first time I was running through that and I saw that center line file, I go, oh, okay, great. And I went and I got the center line of the main road. But that's not what it's asking. It's asking the center line that is different. And that's what we're doing. Okay, so now,
Okay.
so that's going to be which side? This will be on the right-hand side now, right?
Okay.
And we do want to adjust the next outside grade distances. So we turn that on and we just say, okay. Now,
Doing this.
where did it go? Does yours look blank?
It didn't save it.
All right, cancel that for a sec. Let's go back and try it again. Let's to edit. I don't know why that's difficult. All right, so
I lost this one too, but
yeah, but if you double click that, it should come up to that definition, right?
okay. So I just need to add one. Hang on.
Yeah, and so now we go back. So TG, all right, so we add TG, select the file. Yes, it's on the right. It's on the right. We adjust the next grade.
There we go.
Okay, double click that again and change to adjust the one at the top. It's now, yeah, yeah, see where it says right? Yeah. See that checkbox that adjust next outside grade distance? Right under that. Nope, it's on the right, but now. Now go right underneath that where left and right is. The first checkbox under the left and right.
Sure. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I know what you mean. It's right there in front of my face, and I can't see it sometimes because it's information
Yeah.
overload. All right,
Do you
so
want to save this or not?
save, save as,
Okay.
and instead of entrance left, let's just call it entrance flare because it's now no longer just left; it's the whole thing. Okay,
Okay.
save that,
Mhm.
and now before, and so it has. I wondered if it would change the name in the left-hand list, which it did.
Okay.
Otherwise, when you do something like that and you do a save as, I think this happens in
Mhm.
templates, it doesn't
Yes.
automatically switch to it. You have to hit that button. But everything's good. We say okay, and we process. Yes, and then we're going to take a look out there on the right-hand edge, and you see that little business down in there where it's got that. Yeah, see, that has to do with, I think, this business of missing the end of um,
Let's take a look. What's going on here? How you doing on time? Because
oh, I'm
I have
fine.
to move on in about 15 minutes. So, but I want to get through this. So,
Yeah,
see what we got here. Yeah.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
see,
It's.
that's where it's trying to catch the existing grade.
Uh huh.
It's sort of walking back on itself, and I think if we exit that for a minute, exit that viewer. Remember with those yellow lines that I showed you how I had to make the adjustment on that other um,
Yes.
center line?
Mhm.
So go to your, or let's just restore. Well, I mean, click off of that just to get that big chunky highlight off of there. And I'm going to now unisolate those layers. And I want to find, let me turn back my, I want to take this red line, which is my center line, right? And I want to pull that down to here. So
All
I'll
right.
take that point and I'm going to shift it to be perpendicular to there.
All right.
And the same thing here. I will now shift that to be perpendicular to there.
All right.
Now, so that's going to redefine that because, oh, well, I think
Mhm.
it's going to redefine it. Let me make sure your settings are the same as well. Ah, no, link, line work was center lines. Okay.
All right.
Now, what I need to do is, let's go on the center line. I'm going to put, whoops, let me cancel that in a second. Let me select Now, let's draw the center line file on,
Can you use current if you want,
let's see that.
unless you want to put it on a different one.
Oh, I guess it is current. On.
You use current.
And that,
There you go.
and no label, no PIs. So, okay. And that one,
Mhm.
and there it is. Now, because it is linked, I will now
Uh
be
huh.
able to move that perpendicular, and that will redefine the center line. Yeah. And you could
Mhm.
verify it with all that other stuff as well. Now, if we still get this kind of thing in here on this right edge, I think this will fix it. If we do still
Mhm.
get it, first thing I would try, and we'll look at it, is to maybe tighten up this interval for these station drops, but I don't think we'll need to do that. I think this will fix it. We will now turn this back down and reprocess, and let's see what it looks like. Now, the other thing that could be going on, remember we got some wonkiness in that surface, that original ground surface out there,
Mhm.
um, which might or
Mhm.
might not be going on. Let's see here. Let's take a look at what those look like overlaid with that original ground.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably what we see happening there. As it's back here trying to catch that. I don't know why it's catching it toward the inside, but
Mhm.
there's this missing point. Oh, it's trying to set this. See how that's a continuation of this line here?
Mhm. It's the sidewalk. It's
Defined on
not
the right,
transitioning the
not defined. It's
sidewalk.
defined on the right, but it's not defined on the left. So we don't have the problem on the left. So I think that's
Mhm.
probably happening there. So let me take a look. And
Yeah, that's that sidewalk. That's what's going on. It's not following the TG. Yeah.
yeah, and because it doesn't have that point to find it. So the point's getting lost. And
Mhm.
that's in this transition because it doesn't have a point. Now that may be resolvable here in just a second. Let me see, and that may be why we've got dummy. Uh, that may be the thinking behind that. But I want to try something right here in this template point transition and see if this fixes it. Because right now we say adjust the next outside grade distance. Um, Or if we say skip the grade when the center line is missing, and I don't know if this will fix it, but that was RSR, if I recall. And we will verify. I want to do it yet before I verify roads. Design templates, the one that has, yes, RSR. All right. So now we may need to add that RSR point to the no gutter section with a real tiny link to get it to go to match it. But let's see what this one does. So now there's that. We process it. If we see that come back, which it did, I think.
It's still not. The sidewalk's not transitioning across the. The other problem is that I don't have it properly defined in the template. You can see it's not overlapping where I need it to be. Yeah,
Let's see.
I might have to fix that template. The
Yeah,
sidewalk on the right side of
so
the
see
template.
how see how that does there. Now, if I fix that by going to design template, I need to add an RSR point to this template so that it finds it. And I need to add it on the right hand side. We got one. 10 feet at 2%. RSR.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I. That's not quite correct the way I'm showing it. I need 5 feet off the back of the curb to the left side of the sidewalk and another 5 to the right.
Okay, well
Um,
let's take care of that. So let's go 2%, 5 feet,
yeah. Yes,
and
sir. Yeah, and there's your grass median.
yeah, so we'll call
You could.
that oops, just in the end, the median point. Okay.
Yeah. There
And
we are. And then we want another one for a sidewalk.
which is our grade. Again, for first a 2% still,
Yes.
and 5.
Now we could call this sidewalk or
Okay.
there you go.
So we will save that,
Let's see if that's better.
and then we'll also fix it on the one with gutter, or that, yeah, that was the no gutter. Now here's the one with gutter. So we're going
Mhm.
to change this one the same way.
Mhm.
That was 5 feet.
There we go. That's your median.
It went to median.
And then another 5 at 2%. And there's your
Oops, I'm gonna,
pavement.
and so there's now my SW. Okay, so now those are defined and set here. Now I wonder if, let's see, yes, right here. Skip missing, skip. There's something about this business. Let me see this a minute. If I save that and say, okay, and yeah, go ahead and process. There we go.
Much better.
Okay. Now we still
Much,
have
much better.
we still have this
Yeah.
little thing here which we can't get rid of without the edits. But
Yes.
what I did in this was in this, as it follows the different what you call it from here on the
Mhm.
right, I basically unchecked to adjust
Okay.
next outside grade distance, and that's counterintuitive. Let me see if this one. I'll look that up offline and see if I can
Sure.
out,
Yeah.
and I won't take your time because I know you got to go. Let's say this, and let's say, uh, yep. I want to see what effect that might have on these, and none. All right, so
Okay.
anyway, I'll look that up. I'm going to save these settings, and now
Mhm.
we've still got these issues that we have to resolve, and
We
we can do
still need
this
to profile that. Yeah.
a couple of ways. Is
Mhm.
we're going to Let's see, here's another thing I was looking at. We need this line here to be back to here. Is that correct?
Yeah, but we can make a 3D
Ah,
polygon to the. We're not going to be able to do that the way the edge of pavement is set. It's going to be
well,
It's going to be completely impossible. Or we'd have to
no,
extend
yeah, I mean,
the
here,
center line much
yeah,
further.
no. I mean, this is what's causing that. There's our red line. We
Yes.
brought this whole tangent piece back here to ride on that zero line, that
Yes,
zero
sir. Yes.
station line. That's why, because it starts at zero, so it only sees this red line down to this point.
Mhm.
So if we do this, we select this line and we change from there. If we give it a slightly non-zero position here, and I'm just
Mhm.
going to go to say the nearest point here, just sort of eyeballed into the middle, or we could even do this. This might actually be the better choice. And that puts that arc back on that original arc. Okay, so we've got a little slightly, so this brings it to zero. We couldn't do that on this side because it's on the other direction. Well, yeah, because there's the zero. See, the zero is outside of
Mhm.
the right of way. So that's always going to be the problem there. So over here, though, we were able to do that now. So I've redefined that center line of that red edge
Right.
to follow that. So keep your eye on this
Mhm.
as we reprocess now.
Mhm.
See?
So you extended it out a wee bit more.
Yeah, and so well, it extended it back to correspond
Mhm.
to that blue edge, sort of. I mean, it's here's where the blue edge really is, and
Mhm.
this green line is where the surface gets defined. Now that part we can fix. You know, we'll do little trims or whatever else we need to do.
Mhm.
But you're basically wanting to put, I don't know, I don't know, those steps up to a sidewalk or
No,
something.
no. What those are?
Or
It's a 2 foot in New York State. You have to put these dimpled. The first 24 inches
oh,
has
oh,
to be
yeah,
dimpled,
okay,
and
that,
that's
yeah,
just you could erase those
that,
lines. It's
that,
just a.
well, we don't need it. I just wonder what it was. That's your warning script for your,
There's gonna have to be yeah. That whole thing's gonna have to be a slope under 12 on one.
right, right,
Okay,
right.
so
Yep,
yeah.
yep, all makes perfect sense. And now, uh, one last tip here before we do that. I want to go back to this output options on my settings. I want to go to my triangulate and contour setup, and I want to reassign the colors because I've changed those names now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Here's all right. It doesn't pick up that median and sidewalk here yet.
Hmm.
And
Is it because
well,
I'm
here,
defining the triangulation file differently? Well, I
well,
guess it doesn't matter.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. It's because we're using a template series. If
Okay.
we have a single template, it will recognize those. If we don't
Oh.
have it, then what we need to do is go to our template ID library. I can hear this template ID library. And let's add, I think this will fix it up. I'm going to take TG, we're going to call that area of pavement. And we
Mhm.
have a CRB as our back of curb. And we have an MDN, which is our median
Mhm.
strip. And you don't need those descriptions, but this helps for later. And then
Mhm.
we have SW, which is the outside edge of sidewalk. Oops, not south side, but outside. All right. So let's now say okay to that. Might as well do a save as and call this towpath as well.
Mhm.
And then say okay. And now go back here. I think that's where that was from. If not, if it's actually reading the template, it's yeah, see. All right. I'll take care of researching that part.
Mhm. I'm gonna send you everything plus
Yeah,
the. I'm gonna have to resend you this file and one. The profile that I have to send is that a PRO file? What is that?
it is. It is a PRO file. So
Okay.
so actually, if you just let's see, let's save it. If you just zip up everything in that working folder, I think that'll get it. And but make sure that profile is in. Let me see if it is. I don't.
Let me go. Yeah, go up to that profile. I want to see where it is again. Yeah. See, that's not in the right
Find
place.
more
I
files.
got a towpath.pro.
Well, here's a quick way of doing this as well.
I'm gonna have to bring it. Yeah.
If I edit that, I don't know why
Yeah, that's not quite the right profile. It restarted it. Not sure what happened there.
I look at this one.
Yeah, it that kind
Oh,
of
no, that is the same thing. This is just a different vertical exaggeration. I thought there was another curve there.
there
Okay.
was another curve there.
Well,
I lost. Yeah.
there's still that curve is actually where it hits that where it hits this intersection,
Yeah,
right?
I've lost a vertical curve. Um. Oh, oh, I know. Oh, we're not. Is it? Did we modify? No, it's 1419. Okay,
Yeah.
we can redo this. We can redo this because
Well,
I've
where it
lost
hits
a
up,
vertical
yeah,
curve.
where it hits up here is where you tie back into itself. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we can add that in there, but I just want to get something, and we'll worry about that, you know, at a later stage. But what I want to do with this now is to do a save as, and let's put that instead of here, we'll put it
Yeah.
here, and we just call
Yeah.
it. Uh, if
Okay.
what
Yeah.
were you calling them? Is that your uh, suffix? I think we'll call it that. But that's and exit, and you may have to pick it now from that. That's a case where it didn't reassign it, whereas this one down here did. All right, so click back in. So now you don't have to worry about finding it. Just set me up everything in the folder. And
Excellent. I will do that, and I will send this file along with it.
yeah, so now
Yeah.
the next thing to do um, is,
We could pick up on
once we're
Friday
happy
or
with
something. Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, let's take a peek at this real quick, and I'll show you that the next thing we're going to do is to, and we don't have to do it at this stage because we're going to continue making modifications uh,
Mhm.
to things, but we will need to at some point modify um, that roadway file
Mhm.
to fix these little areas with that little goofy triangle and that. And over here, you see
Mhm.
that uh, same little uh, business right in here. Although it's really
Mhm.
just that, and it's much less severe over here than it was over there, for
Mhm.
whatever particular reason. And I think that has to do with this suddenness where it drops down here. But we'll fix that.
Mhm.
Fix these that little sliver point. We'll get all that stuff figured out, and I'll also research this color issue as to why it's not picking up that grade point. And I think it's due to using a template series that when you use a single template, it reads the template and picks the list of names out of that template. Um,
Understood.
but why it picked up TG and CRB and then left everything else as other, I'm not sure, but I'll research that. I don't want to take it.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
sure. This is a great. We've made a lot of progress. I'm
well,
feeling a lot more comfortable now. So
yeah, and what I hope you see, Andrew, here is that, I mean, look at what you had last week.
uh huh.
You process a road that followed these right hand edges here, this line. You were despairing over, and I don't mean that in a
Yeah.
in a biblical doom and boom or doom and gloom
Yeah.
type of sackcloth and ashes kind of despair. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
how do I do this? How do I fix this? And here's a way. Now it's complex when you're first learning it, but I think you understand the concepts is that we declare an alternate center line for one of the
Yes.
in our template. And so that's what we
Yes.
did. And it's
Yes.
now, and we had to do a couple of little tricks to smooth out some curves and to get things to not have those little sudden jars. We still have a couple of things to edit, but that's a way. Now there's other ways of doing those. That's the one, this template point center line. That's my favorite one because I can draw. Like, for instance, if I've got this sidewalk going along through my
Mhm.
subdivision, and if I come
Yes.
up and I want to put a tree well, and I want my sidewalks to come approach the tree well and then go around it in a nice little circular arc and come back around. So you get a little walkway around the tree. Then
Mhm.
all I have to do is push that median point, not the PG point. I push median, and so it then pushes median and SW around that new shape. And I just draw the
Mhm.
semicircular shape that I want it to follow. Okay.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
so,
It's
so it's a real,
intuitively we understand. It just takes a
yeah,
lot of practice, and we've
right,
never done it before.
right. And so
And
there are other ways of doing things like that. If I were just say putting in a flared, uh, to go out to two lanes instead of one lane, you can define a one lane template, and then you define another
mhm.
template as a two-lane template. You get the start stop, and let it transition in between using two different templates. Well, that's okay, but you got to keep editing templates and make sure everything's matching. But
Mhm.
that is your template transition.
That's
And
the three from the top. That's only if you got one. That's what I was trying to use, but it didn't work so well because I had three instead of just two.
right,
So
right.
yeah.
So these are all way, and there's also this grade table, this template grade table. It's
Mhm.
there. I I don't particularly care for it. It's basically
Mhm.
it's like a little spreadsheet of
Mhm.
which point you want to push, how far you want to push it, and what slope you want to push it at.
Mhm.
Well, that only works when you're still pushing everything perpendicular to the center line, and you're really, we want to step around a curve. Uh,
Yeah.
a portion of our line used to be straight parallel to our road center line, but now it needs to follow this nice smooth arc in the entrance. So that one doesn't work as well. But those are all techniques to alter the point of that point on the template. So now we're going to also, where it says template point center line, we define the horizontal, but it goes out to, uh, again, it's 2% down, 2% down. And if we look at that in comparison to this, for instance, and let's set this one to be a little bit transparent. There we go. I'm not sure it's going to be terribly apparent because you're pretty flat up there, but you can see, yeah, you can see a little better here. See how that's how one dives under the other. If I
Mhm.
if I
Mhm.
turn this back to full opaqueness, yeah, there you go. You see that how
Mhm.
we're not we're not coming up here with their pavement and matching
Mhm.
this right here,
Mhm.
this edge
I
and
see it.
this edge. You see, we're diving down, and you see the center line hits it nice and where we expect it.
Mhm.
But we have to figure out, what do we do here,
We
and
got to use the
over here.
vertical curve. We got to profile. We got to do a
Yeah,
vertical curve
so
profile.
exactly like we told it to follow a different path horizontally, we have to say,
Mhm.
well,
Mhm.
I want you now to also follow a different path vertically. And
Mhm.
what happens, and you can do that for the entire bit. Let's say
Mhm.
this is where it starts. I don't know exactly where it is,
Mhm.
but if that's the entire thing, we could say we could calculate what this point out here is supposed to be. Say start here and run
Mhm. And then
all
end
the way
right
up
there.
to
Yeah.
here linearly. Do the same
Mhm.
thing here. Start up here on the edge of the road, all the way up here linearly, and then it blends. Of course, it has this point in the middle too, so it blends it out to here and blends it out to here, all the way up to here, and then
Yeah,
at
that
that
would be
point where
nice.
we stop, it then
Mhm.
picks up the 2%. Okay,
I
but
gotcha.
we could, instead of going all the way up to here, because if we want that 2% to start being developed back in here, let's just
Yeah, we could
set
take it right to the gutter. Yeah,
this to there,
only to the gutter.
this to
Because it
there,
looks good up to the gutter, other than the.
and
Looks good
and
up to the gutter. Yeah.
yeah, and so and these are, if you see these
Uh huh.
edges, you see
Uh huh.
that this triangle right in here and these triangles up here, they're basically coplanar, um,
It's
because
very flat.
it
Yeah.
well, no, I don't mean that they
Almost.
have,
Well.
I don't mean that they're level being planar. I mean they lie in the same plane because they're developed as being 2% off that center line. So it's pushed.
Mhm.
So all of these things are, if I look at this, it's all, of course, it
Under below grade there. Yeah,
follows
it's
the
below grade.
profile. I mean, it follows
Yeah.
this profile and then comes 2% off of it. So all I need to do is, and I want this to be established here. So I calculate that point there, um, the point at the corner of that triangle down here at the pavement, my FT point, and I know it up here at the corner of, and it's not highlighting, but it's
See, it's
right
it's
up
because
here
it's on.
where
You can't see because it's
it's on.
under grade. It's below grade. It's under the existing ground. Yeah.
So once
Yep.
I have that point up there where the pavement is, I
We
know
could take
I'll
it
set
backward.
this point of the
Yeah,
pavement,
that's
follow
exactly.
it,
Yeah.
and then so this curve will ride up and follow that same profile. So
Mhm.
instead of using the center line of the road's profile pushed over at 2% to set all that, it says over there and find it horizontally. And now while you're there, ignore the 2% and start at this elevation and go up to that elevation. And I could even, because I'm making a profile, it doesn't have to be a linear change. I could go, say, to a point in the middle and put a low point to put my
Mhm.
catch basins.
Uh huh.
Or I could, make sure I have it up here and just put a low point so I can
Yeah.
catch the water coming from the entrance as well as the water coming down the street.
Mhm.
Okay. So because this is actually a little higher than this. And so that's where I'm gonna put that in.
Okay.
And because of that, because it's higher here and higher here, I won't
Mhm.
need to put an artificial low point. But I could do that if I
Mhm.
needed to do it. And that's the beauty of
Yeah.
that template
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
center and template point profile. We just have not decided on a profile yet. But
Yes.
that
But
could be our
we'll
next
get
step.
that next.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. I know you got
Yeah,
to go.
for sure. Let's do that. I'm gonna send you this stuff. I appreciate the timing, and we'll pick up right where we left off. I'll take a peek into it, and maybe Friday we could pick up where we left off.
Absolutely. Well, let me see. Hold on. Let me. I'm going to stop your screen share. Let me double check
Take
that.
your time.
I,
No rush if you wanna take
well, I just
time
want
to.
to see what do I have Friday. I know I do have a 3 o'clock. I think
You wanna do 1 to 3?
we could, or you can actually do it in the morning if that makes it easier for you. I'm trying to think there was something I
You can
thought
do
I
that
had to
too.
do that. I thought I had something going on that day. It's not in my calendar. So let's say you get there first, you win. Um, yeah. So so whenever is good for you the Friday, but knowing that I'm going to have to end by 3. If
Let's
you
touch bases tomorrow when you uh, have some research done. Then send me an email. Tell me what you
Yep,
found, and then I'll send you an email and let you know when I can dial in.
that'll work. Okay.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. We're making good progress here.
Good, good, good.
Um, if there only wasn't a gutter, we would have been done by with everything by now. But there's,
Yeah,
but
but
it's good that we know how to do it.
well, that's the thing. You're stepping into a level of complexity that you'll be able to do this and even extend that level of thinking to take care of all
Mhm.
kinds of things in the past. So
Mhm.
or the future stuff. So
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
it's good. I
So
was
basic.
kind of
Yeah.
discussing. Yeah.
When this was an important one of the four big things I wanted to do was figure out how to add a flare to the driveway with this
Yeah.
template point center line. So that's number one. Then we're gonna figure out how to add our third template down the line when we do the whole road,
Yep.
and then we'll figure out how to raise pads and raise lots. And then, if we dare, we'll figure out how to put a wall in the back because I've never even attempted to do anything
Oh,
quite
walk
like
is
that.
fun.
So,
I actually like doing walls. Now, I say that with the disclaimer that I'm not a structural engineer, so I don't calculate loads and things and foundation widths. But
yeah, we'll leave that to them, but we
yeah,
have to tell them how deep we want the wall,
yeah, I'll
and
share with you.
that they don't have control over. That they only have control over the foundation. We have control
Yeah,
over the stepping of the wall, and I will let you know they are gabions. So,
yes, you did tell me
um,
that earlier. And I'll share with you at some point another day this big giant quarter-mile long river wall, this big sheet pile cutoff with king piles and the Z-fold sheet piling. Um, and how I did all that modeling in 3D. I mean, it's you know render perfect with materials, and there's penetrations for pipes that
mhm.
exit with links, seals, and
Cool.
uh,
Did you do Precision 3D, or did you do that with
no,
P3D, or did you?
no, I did
Okay.
all of it in MicroStation actually, and
Oh well,
so
that's. I'm afraid that is probably the way we're all headed, and I have the program now, and I'm really scared of having to learn that because I don't have time. So,
yeah,
but I
well,
could do anything.
yeah, and the only thing I would share that with you is not to try to switch your mind over to MicroStation. That's not the point. The point, because you could switch this into Precision 3D and do the same kind of thing. But the
Mhm.
fact is that, like I said, I'm not a structural guy, and I do all this. I've done a couple of other jobs, big municipal
Mhm.
jobs, sewer interceptors, and we have these things we call dog houses for the parts of the sewer line that are out in the river. We
Yes.
have concrete shells that sit down over, they basically function as manholes.
Uh huh.
Um, but they have to have, they've got these, you know, pressure tight hatch lids on them and basically sockets so that if they ever have to get into it, they take a boat with divers out there and they lower down these big um, stainless steel tubes. They're like 7 feet in diameter
Cool.
and
Mhm.
bolt them on and seal them up together. And that makes a little chimney for the workers to then crawl, climb down the inside of that tube, open up the hatch and
Cool.
work it. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. But I model all that stuff in 3D materials and it's sort of an interesting sideline to what I do. Anyway, I'm gonna let you scoot. Send me that
Yeah, I'll
stuff.
send this right over, and we will reconvene. And it's going pretty good. And it's going pretty good.
Well, I agree. I think it should be. And again, I'm more interested in getting you the techniques. You know, I could sit here and do all the work for you and send you a bill, but that doesn't help you. You know, I think you learning how to do it so you don't have to call me in to work on stuff in the future. That's what helps you.
Yeah.
And
Yes, for sure.
so,
This is a program that I've had for over 10 years and only have used 10 to 15% of its features.
well, unfortunately, that's true of all of us. And there's some things that even I haven't done a whole lot with that it can do. So, and I learn every day. So, all right,
Okay, here it comes. I'm going to check your email in 10 minutes. You'll see everything that we have over there.
perfect. Thank you, sir.
Take
I'll,
care.
yeah, I'll go ahead and end this, and I'll post you the video link when it's through processing. Okay.
You sure will. Thank you much.
You bet. All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye bye.